or even with your children. Would anybody like any paper to take any notes? If you didn't bring it, okay. So I know a few of you did bring some. Okay. So this is a chart called based on the circadian rhythm. And so I am a huge moon goddess. I love watching the cycles of the moon. And I'm going to scroll here to the next slide. So the equinoxes, the solstices, the Celtic seasonal calendar. I can determine when my own personal moon cycle will start based on the moon cycle. And so when you are tapped into your circadian rhythm, especially as a woman with a lunar cycle, then we will tend to ebb and flow with the moon. And that's how it has been done for eons. But when we are totally tapped out, we never see the sun, we don't ever see a sunrise, we don't ever see a sunset, we never look at the moon, our bodies get totally out of flux, as women especially. But we are all creatures that are mostly water, and our planet is mostly water. And the tides of the earth are completely overruled by the moon. So how can we think that that doesn't matter? Because it does. It pulls on our bodies, just like the other planets that are circulating the sun pull on our planet and pull on their own orbits. So everything is pulling in different directions, and so we want to get in rhythm of that. Think about, if you're on a surfboard and you're standing there, getting ready to just jump in, and you just jumped up and you're getting that wave, and you're all of a sudden you're just right in the flow, and you're just standing there so perfectly, you're feeling the wave just push you, and you're right on the crest of it. Versus, you try and paddle and paddle and paddle and paddle, and you get up there, and then you just get bashed down by the wave. And then you paddle and paddle and paddle and paddle, and you get there, and you just get bashed down and just turned over like a washing machine. Has it ever happened to you in the ocean where you're swimming, and then all of a sudden you just get mad smacked by a huge wave? That is not fun. No. I don't know if y'all have ever seen those commercials where, like, I don't know people, but if you like sitting in gum, or if you like walking into a glass door, those kind of things. I do not like getting bashed and beat up by the ocean. I like to be in her flow. And so it can happen either way. So tapping into those rhythms. So we're going to talk about some tools to track women's menstrual cycles, and of course the cycles of the moon, and also have a little journaling exercise for you for guys and ladies. Next, we'll notate the weather outside, and we'll jot it in compared to our internal weather. And then the next pieces are charts that will help you in journaling to identify the cycles in which your mood normally flows. And I just suggest you just keep a little weekly chart, and then a 12-month chart, and then a yearly chart. Just kind of looking at just your overall moods and how it's related to what's going on in the world and the planets and the moon cycles. So the final chart is designed to help you see how your own actions affect your mood. And at the end, there's a place for you to write down your experiences and what you've learned. So the first part of this journaling exercise is to notate, where is the cycle of the moon this week? Is it new? Is it waxing? Is it full? Is it waning? Who can tell me? I think we're waning. It's waning because we just had a full moon, a beautiful lunar eclipse, and it was a blue moon. So who can tell me what a blue moon means?
Second full moon in a month.
Yes, the second full moon in a calendar month. So there's actually 13 lunations in your calendar year. So there's, a lot of people think there's 12, but there's not. And so when you look at the Celtic calendar, there's a really great book on the reading list talking about the healing power of trees. And it's talking about each lunation of all the 13 lunations based on the Celtic traditions and teachings. And each of those has a tree that's associated with it. Very, very fascinating to tap into that wisdom. It's very, very powerful. So what is going on with the solar system? Is Mercury in retrograde? Has anybody ever been aware of that? Yes. Wait, are you aware when it goes into retrograde? No. Okay. Pay attention. Just watch. Get your Farmer's Almanac out. Just watch.
Yourself in your house and don't go out.
Right, she said lock yourself in your house and don't go out. Yes, that it can be very true because the crazies come out. The crazy and everybody comes out. Why? Is that just coincidental? Do you think it's coincidental? No, because Mercury is a very powerful ruling planet, and and it pulls on our own energies. And so when Mercury is spinning and it's circulating and it's going around, and then we're going around in a larger loop, then when we pass Mercury, think about it like if you're rolling up in your Accord at the stoplight, and then a big truck rolls up, and then his wheels still do this, and then when he stops, it looks like his wheels do this, right? That's exactly what happens to Mercury. It looks like it's going backwards because we passed it. And so when that happens, the energy pulls on our planet, and it pulls on our own energy systems. And it can make you really irritable. It can make, my computer will go out sometimes. Your phone will go out. You might blow a microwave. All kinds of things can happen electronically because that energy is affecting our planet. So yes.
People drive like maniacs.
They do.
Super careful on
They
that.
do. You said we have 10?
15.
15? Okay. All right, so what is going on with the solar system? What is the weather like in my area each day? And what is your mood upon waking? And then your mood upon retiring. So these are the things that you want to notate here. So let me scroll down here so you can jot those down. So these little 5 steps. This is just your weekly energy and seasonal journaling. So those are the questions you just want to ask yourself. And just write down the days of the week and just jot real quick. Just take you a minute just to jot, okay, here's the full moon. This is how I felt when I woke up. This is how I felt when I went to sleep. This is what's going on in the planets this week. And you'll begin to see a pattern. You got to do it for a little while, but you'll begin to see a pattern. Now, I already know my pattern. I don't need to write it down because I already know, like I mentioned, my lunar cycle can be completely tapped into the full moon or the equinox. So it's interesting how your own personal cycle will, and even men, you have a cycle, even though you may not know it, but you do. And have any of y'all ever heard of what do you call it, when your spouse is pregnant with you? I know there's a word for it, but like the false pregnancy, when the guy is kind of like
sympathetic.
The sympathetic, thank you, I couldn't think of the word. The sympathetic pregnancies. So they'll start gaining weight and they'll start craving, Dairy Queen or whatever, So those kind of things can happen. But so I want you to just kind of pay attention to that. And then at the end of the month, you're just going to have a thing, you're just going to write out all 12 of the months, and you're just going to jot down kind of your overall feeling for the month, if you will. Then looking at the Celtic calendar, you're going to look at the theme. Like we mentioned, you can look at that book, The Healing Power of Trees. And so here we have the next chart to just jot down in your little journaling would be the time of day mood tracker. So this is a very helpful thing. We all have an internal clock. And in Ayurveda, we study the internal clock. We follow a 24-hour clock for eating. Each of the meridians in the body has about a 3-hour window that is dominating. And so as that window is dominating that meridian, do you know what a meridian is? Do you not know what a meridian is? Okay, meridian is studied in Chinese or holistic medicine. And the meridians, it's on my book recommendation, is your body's, Dr. Smokey Santillo, his book, let me see, get the name right. Your body speaks, your body heals. And so in this book, he talks about the time windows that our meridians are dominated. There is a line of energy. So for instance, the kidney meridian comes from your toe, and then it goes up to this point here, and it kind of recirculates back down and around. So you're going to see the pattern of energy that meridian runs. It's a line of energy. Just like the meridians on our planet, when you can how they judge longitude and latitude, that is the same thing in your body. You have meridians. And those energies run. They're always the same for every human. They maybe vary a tiny bit, but that's why acupuncture works so well, because it's based on that science, that we know where those energy systems run. So even if your kidney is failing or something's wrong with your kidney, you might have a symptom here in the K27 meridian. Who knew that was related to the kidney? Well, a lot of naturopath doctors do, and Chinese medicine doctors do, because it's been studied for thousands and thousands of years. And we know that anywhere along that point, that meridian point, something can show up in the kidney. Okay? So you have a clock that runs like that. We also can eat our biggest meal when the sun is at its zenith, so that there's the most prana present to digest and help burn our food. That's why we don't eat huge meals after the sun goes down. Now, of course, in the industrial era, in the last 150 years, since we've had lights, that can be completely off. Now, before we had light, internal, regular light, was developed, you had to eat by candlelight, and most people would probably have most of their major calories done because we were more agricultural and, busy during the day and hungry during the middle of the day, and then coming in for the evening to gather rest and go to sleep. So you can do it all over again. But since so many of us are totally tapped out of those rhythms, we can eat big meals at night, and these things can really throw us off. Many practices also follow the moon cycle and fast from grains or eat less grains on the 11th day following the new and the full moon, because there's less prana energy when the moon is at the very lowest waning point. So for a week, you can jot down how you feel during waking, mid-morning, noon, mid-afternoon, evening, and night. And just a quick little smiley face, 3 stars versus 5 stars, or whatever system you want to use. And then your monthly moon cycle. So you just jot down the 1st to the 31st. Women, you're going to mark your menstrual cycle and your ovulation. And then if you're in menopause, you're going to mark your phantom cycle. So you still have a cycle in your menopause, but it's still there. It's just there's nothing flowing. So the 1st to 31st, just mark your mood, kind of an overall theme for the day. That's all, real simple. And then the moods and actions. For a week, jot down everything you put into your body. Have you ever done that? Okay, MyFitnessPal is a great app. Love this app. It takes some diligence. You're going to have to take about 5 minutes after every meal just to jot it down. If you're pre-planning your meals, you can adjust it a little bit, and you also mark off when you drink your water, when you do exercise or movement. So you're going to write down breakfast, snacks, lunch, snacks, dinner, and water. And so this is a great way for you to really track where you're at. If you've never tracked your food intake, this is an excellent tool. Very, very powerful. And then you're going to track your movement. And then I'd like you to just make a little notation on your journal for your spiritual connection every day. Prayer and quiet time, meditation, and sadhana. Now, sadhana is a whole nother talk. I do have a link to what is sadhana on my blog. If you just click through a couple pages, you'll see it. But the sadhana is a daily practice that is done with intention to connect to something greater than yourself. So you can brush your teeth every single day, twice a day, 3 times a day. When you do it with intention, like we're mentioning, when you eat with intention, it shifts it to something spiritual, if that is your intention. So you can take regular toothbrushing and let it be a prayer. Does that make sense? So you can take anything. You could take pumping gas and let it be a prayer. You know how I feel about gas, but because I mentioned I want a Tesla. But that's a poor example probably. But you could. That could be something like as you're pumping gas. And that actually I do have an intention when I do pump gas, because I go to the gas pump so rarely in my Prius. I literally spend like $22 a month on gas. And so my intention is, woohoo, I only spent $22, I am helping the planet. So there's lots of things you can put your intention in, and that's called sadhana. One of my recommended books is by Ram Dass. Some of you are old enough to know about his teachings. And so he did a lot of experiments on the mind using psychedelics, as well as all kinds of psychological tests and things like that. And I'd like you to read the book Be Here Now. It has a lot of art and it's very trippy, but it's very, very powerful. It has a lot of really, really good information on how to live your life completely connected to spirit. And then I'd like you to have one other notation in your journal of your connection. Friends, family, community, just me, doing something for someone else, and then your overall connection. So those are really, really important roles to nurture. And if we don't intentionally nurture those roles. My teacher is Ware, and she has mentioned many times in her teachings that if we don't fan the flames of certain fires, the embers will die. And so it's okay to let certain embers die and certain relationships die, especially if they're not serving you and your highest good, and they're not supporting where you're going in your journey. And you can still love those people, but you don't have to fan the flames, right? But there are certain relationships, as you as a couple, of course, doing things together, so important. And continually finding things to do together as you grow. Have y'all been together a long time?
20 years.
Oh, that's awesome. So over 20 years. And so you can attest to this too. My husband and I have been together 25 this year, or 26 this year, married. And, we're continually finding new things to do together. Because as we grow and develop as people, you want to develop things that are in common with the people that are important to you. And that way you keep that common ground and you're fanning those flames and you're keeping that relationship growing. And so, you might have a little fire over here that you're fanning the flames of your kids. You might have a little fire over here where you're fanning the flames of your lover, and that's a bigger fire. And you might have a little fire over here where you're fanning the flames of your community work and your outreach work. And all those little fires do need to be stoked every now and then. And that's part of the worksheet that I had recommended on my blog. It's the Dream Life Notebook workbook, and you can download the worksheet on there. It's really fun. It has a category for each of the roles in your life and then how to nurture those roles. And so it's a really neat way to kind of go about looking at your overall relationships. And then lastly, what patterns have you noticed? So I'd like you to just jot down what 3 things, after you're just looking at these patterns, have influenced my mood the most. And so you'll have a really good temperature on not being affected, but being proactive and mindful about how you are tapped in. So we have just a few minutes here. I'm going to just quickly go over a short worksheet here for you. Okay, so this one is Divine Love, Creating Mindful Abundance, and some questions and steps. How much time do we have, Lisa? Okay, perfect. So this will be great. So this one right here, I'd like to read to you the Divine Love Keys. And so a successful life depends on a foundation of belief. Truly believing and being in gratitude of the blessings that we are yet to receive is the key to manifesting abundance. It's easy to believe stuff that's already here. Do you believe that's a rug? Of course it's a rug, because it's here. I'm standing on it. But I want a beautiful oriental rug, and it's 20 by 40, and it's hand woven, and thank you, universe, so much for this beautiful rug. It looks gorgeous. My furniture's on it. It fits perfectly in my room. It has no dog pee on it. I have 5 dogs. So all these things that you're bringing in and believing it before it's actually here. And then next thing you know, here's this beautiful rug. We don't know how it arrived. You don't have to worry about the how when you're manifesting divine love and connecting in. The how is the universe can figure that out. We are manifesting the gratefulness and the thankfulness in advance. And so for those of you that are my elders, do you agree that's part of a long and happy life is just spending your time in gratitude and being thankful? Absolutely. So that's a key in the Native American proverb is a great way to live our life, is just bringing in advance those abundant blessings. Self-trust, self-love, and self-belief. The universe is patiently waiting and conspiring to give you your heart's desires, all of them. When you give yourself the permission to completely accept yourself and your blessings, you are saying to the universe, I am ready to receive and bring on the abundance. So here's a couple divine love affirmations if you'd like to jot these down, if they resonate with you. And these are from my life coach, Gary Quinn. Today, I let life flow through my experience, bringing new events to pass. Today, I let life flow through my experience, bringing new events to pass. Today, I let go of the old and let the new appear. Today, I let go of the old and let the new appear. Today, my entire being is open and ready to receive all good. Today, my entire being is open and ready to receive all good. Today, I am an expression of divine love. Today, I am an expression of divine love. And so I'll give you a link to this worksheet on my website. I'll go ahead and upload this from this lecture with the same name of the Mindfulness and Holistic Living Part 1. And so these are steps to creating mindfulness and receiving abundance. And this is a little worksheet that you can go through. And scroll through here. It's just a few questions here, 7 questions. And then at the bottom, it has some information on cutting energetic ties, which we mentioned a little bit ago about letting some members die out. And this is some tools that you can use to kind of review those things in your life. So I just want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your time and for your attentiveness and your interaction. Do we have any final questions or observances or anything you want to add before we close our lecture today? No?
What
Okay.
topics are we going to talk about next week?
So next week we're going to start with eating mindfully and joyfully. So this is going to be the topic next week. We also have mindfulness journaling and the life roadmap guide. And then our final week we'll be working on our personal joy, our secret sauce worksheet. So I'm going to add a little bit about some yogic practices to our final week as well for those of you who would like to learn a little bit about yoga and meditation, because that's just where I've spent most of my time really being mindful. And so then, of course, if there's any resources that you have, please give them to Lisa. She'll conglomerate a list for our class so everybody will have a good handout at the end. And thank you so much for your time, Lisa. Thank you so much for having
thank
me.
you. This is amazing.
What's your website?
Oh, yes. Let me pull that back up for you. It's yogaforlove.com. Yeah, yoga and the number 4.
Oh, what
LOVE.
about that number 4? yogalove.com.
Oh, yoga and the number
Oh,
4.
4 and
Love.com. Yes. And our motto is expanding horizons, inspiring positive change. Thank you.
Anybody wants another cup of tea to go? There's still plenty of water.